I always thought I was the kind of man who could weather any storm. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was just stubbornness, but after 12 years of marriage, I thought I knew what it meant to love someone through thick and thin. My wife, Rachel, was the center of my world. She had a smile that could melt away the day's worries, and a laugh that used to fill our small kitchen with warmth on cold mornings. We met when I was already in my mid-40s, after my first marriage had ended. I thought she was my second chance at happiness. For the longest time, I believed she was. Our life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. I worked long hours at a construction company, coordinating work sites, handling tight schedules, and ensuring work was completed per our bids. This also required a huge amount of travel on my part, often out of state and for several days at a time. Rachel managed the home and worked part-time at a local bakery. She always said she loved the smell of fresh bread in the morning, and I'd smile, telling her that was the kind of simple magic that made our house a home. But life has a way of pulling the rug out from under you, doesn't it? It started small. The way she would turn her phone screen away from me when she got a text, the late-night phone calls she'd take outside on the porch, saying it was just her sister or an old friend. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her, because the alternative was unthinkable. One night, I got home early from a work trip. The owner of my company had canceled a meeting last minute with the client I was visiting, so I took the earlier flight and surprised Rachel. I thought I'd catch her off guard in a good way. Bring home dinner, maybe some flowers. I wanted to remind her that even after 12 years, I still cared enough to make her smile. But when I walked in the door, I found her in the kitchen, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice low and trembling in a sexy way. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard enough. "I miss you too." "No, he's gone tonight. I can't wait to see you again." She saw me and pulled the phone away from her ear like it burned her skin and quickly hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't rage. I just stood there, my hands shaking. I asked her, "Who was that, Rachel?" She tried to lie, of course. "It's nothing, just a friend." But the fear in her eyes told the truth before her mouth did. Eventually, she collapsed into a chair, nervously ignoring my eyes, and that told me everything. I asked her to tell me the truth, but I could see that she was struggling to find the words. She admitted she had been talking with someone, but explained it had only been going on for a few weeks, and that it was a mistake, and that she didn't even know what she was doing. She told me that she loved me and always had. She was so damn convincing in her tears and her apologies. I almost believed she had been caught in a moment of weakness she again would never repeat. I looked at her face and just stood there stunned and did not know what I should do. In moments like these, you never really know what to do or to say. Everyone says they would have done this or done that, but until it is you, you can't really say. I told myself that forgiveness was the right thing, that marriage meant working through the hard parts. I just thought about all the years we had spent together and what she meant to me. I was so angry but also filled with emotion, as this was the woman I loved with all my heart. I think now that I was also lying to myself, thinking that maybe it was just flirtatious banter and nothing more. Honestly, I didn't want to know at that point, so I forgave her. I told her we'd rebuild the trust, that we'd find our way back to each other. I wanted to believe it. God, how I wanted to believe it. For a while, it seemed to work. We went to counseling. She promised she'd cut all ties with the other man, whoever he was. She told me he was someone from out of state and had just moved to town and I would not know him. I was dying to ask who it was, but since she seemed so sincere that the supposed flirtation was ended and she was serious on reconciliation, I did not push the issue. She said she had blocked his number, said she never wanted to see him again. It seemed we were healing. It never crossed my mind that Mark was the man she was seeing. I found this out by accident. Funny how life works that way. I was at the office late one night going through next week's schedule when I saw a series of messages pop up on Mark's computer. He had left for the day and left his laptop open. I wasn't snooping, but there it was, a message from my wife, right in front of my eyes. "Can't wait for you tonight, baby," were her words, and it froze me in my tracks. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. It didn't seem real. Mark, my boss, my friend, had been arranging my work hours so he could see my wife behind my back. He was the one I'd trusted to give me extra work so I could support her better. He was the one who had been lying to my face every single day. I just grabbed my things and walked out. My hands were numb and my mind was spinning. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. I just drove home in a daze as my world was unraveling right before me. The woman I loved more than anything, the life I had built around her, everything was a lie, just a total lie. When I got home, Rachel was waiting for me. Everything about her seemed normal until she looked at me. She could see on my face that I knew, because her face just turned white as a sheet. Her eyes became wide with a frightened look that said she had been found out. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. My throat felt raw like I'd swallowed broken glass. She started to cry as she reached for me, but I stepped back away from her touch. "Please, let me explain," she said, her voice choked with tears. "What is there to explain?" I asked. "You told me it was over. You promised me it was over. And all this time it was him, my boss." She sobbed harder, her shoulders shaking. "I didn't mean for it to happen again. He kept calling, kept texting. He said things I wanted to hear. I was lonely, and you were always working." "Because I was working to support us," I shouted, my anger finally breaking free. "I was working those extra hours because I thought it would make you happy. I thought we were fixing this." She buried her face in her hands, her words muffled. I know, and I hate myself for it. Please, please forgive me. I'll do anything. I'll quit my job. I'll cut all ties with him. I swear I will this time." "You said that before," I said, my voice steady now. The anger replaced by something colder, something that scared me. "You said it was a mistake. You promised it was over, and now I find out it's been happening all along. How can I ever believe you again?" She dropped to her knees in front of me and clutched at my hands, her tears falling on my knuckles. "Please, please don't do this. I love you. I swear I love you. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. Just don't leave me. I can't live without you." Her words were like knives in my chest. Because as much as I hated what she had done, a part of me still loved her. A part of me wanted to believe her, to hold her and tell her everything would be okay. But deep down, I knew I couldn't. I couldn't be that man anymore. I couldn't be the fool who let her hurt me again. "I can't," I said, pulling my hands free. "I can't do this anymore, Rachel. I can't live like this, wondering if every word you say is a lie." She let out a wail, collapsing against my legs. I looked down at her, my heart breaking all over again. I thought about all the nights I had worked late, all the times I had trusted her when she said she was out with friends, all the times I had told myself I was just being paranoid. "I never wanted to hurt you," she sobbed. "I was weak. I was so stupid. But I swear to you it's over now. I swear it." I shook my head and told her, "I don't believe you anymore." I then went to the bedroom and packed a bag as she followed me, crying, begging me to stop. She then tried to block the doorway, but I gently moved her aside. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely zip the bag closed. "I'm going to my brother's," I said, my voice hollow with uncertainty. "I need time to think." She reached for me one last time. "Please don't go. Don't leave me." But I did. I walked out the door and didn't look back. My brother lived a couple of towns over in a small house he shared with his wife. He didn't ask questions when I showed up at his door. My eyes, bloodshot and my shoulders slumped, said everything he needed to know. He just let me in, gave me a place to sleep. I spent the first night on his couch, staring at the ceiling, the weight of everything pressing down on me like 1,000 pounds. I thought about Rachel, about how many times I had forgiven her, about how I had bent over backward to make her happy. Mark, the man I had trusted, the man who had stabbed me in the back and made me feel like a fool. Worse than that, I felt like I had let this happen because I had been too blind, too trusting. The next few days were a blur. I called out of work. There was no way I could face Mark, not yet, and didn't even know if I'd ever be able to face him again. I spent my days walking aimlessly around the neighborhood, my mind racing in circles. Rachel called me every day, leaving messages, but I stayed strong and didn't answer. She left messages begging me to come home. She said she would do anything to make it right. Part of me wanted to believe her. Part of me wanted to go back to pretend it had never happened. But I couldn't, because I knew if I went back, it would never really be over. The trust was gone, shattered into a million pieces I couldn't put back together. A week later, I went back to the house to get the rest of my things. Rachel was there, waiting for me. She looked pale, her eyes swollen from crying. She tried to talk to me, but I told her I didn't want to hear it. "I'm filing for divorce," I said, my voice flat. She shook her head, her hands trembling. "No, please, don't do this. We can fix it. I know we can." "I can't live like this," I said. "I can't spend the rest of my life wondering if you're lying to me." She fell to her knees again, clutching at my legs. "I swear to you it's over. I swear I'll never see him again. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me." The days passed slowly, each one a little easier than the last. I stopped answering Rachel's calls, stopped reading her messages. I knew if I let her voice back into my head, I'd start to doubt myself again. I'd start to wonder if maybe I was being too harsh, too quick to throw away 12 years of marriage. But I couldn't let myself go down that road. I couldn't let myself become a prisoner to her tears again. Mark, my boss, I had to see him eventually. I couldn't avoid it forever. The first time I walked back into that office, I felt like I was walking into a lion's den. He tried to talk to me, tried to act like nothing had happened. He said he was sorry, that it was a mistake, that he cared about me as a friend and that he had been weak. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him, my jaw tight, and walked past. From that moment on, I treated him like a stranger. I did my work, kept my head down, and made it clear that I had no interest in any conversation beyond what was necessary for the job. It wasn't easy. Every time I saw him, I felt that old anger boiling up in my gut. I wanted to grab him by the collar, to scream in his face, to make him feel even a fraction of the humiliation he had made me feel. But I didn't. Because I wasn't going to let his betrayal define me. I wasn't going to let him have that power. Instead, I poured myself into my work. I started picking up new clients, taking on new responsibilities. It was a way to keep my mind busy, to remind myself that I was more than what had happened to me, that I was still a man worth something. Nights were the hardest. I'd come home to that empty apartment, the quiet pressing in on me like a weight. I'd sit on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, the memories of Rachel's laughter echoing in my head. I'd remember the way she used to curl up next to me in the middle of the night, the way she'd trace her fingers along my chest and tell me she loved me. I'd remember the way she looked at me when I came home from a long day, like I was the only man in the world. And I'd remember the lies. Some nights, I'd let the memories win. I'd cry, the tears hot and bitter, my chest aching with the weight of it all. Other nights, I'd force myself to stand up, to go for a walk, to breathe in the cool night air and tell myself that this was just a chapter of my life, not the whole story. A few weeks after I filed for divorce, Rachel showed up at my apartment. I opened the door to her knock and saw her pale face and her red eyes from crying. She looked so small, so lost, and for a moment, my resolve almost crumbled. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I hesitated, then stepped back to let her in. She walked inside like she was stepping into a church, with her hands folded in front of her. She looked around the small apartment, taking in the bare walls and the simple furniture. This is nice," she said, her voice trembling. "It's enough," I said. She turned to face me, her hands shaking. I needed to see you, to tell you again how sorry I am." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "I know I don't deserve another chance," she said, her voice cracking. "I know I've hurt you more than I can ever make up for, but I need you to know that I'm done with him, completely. I haven't spoken to him since you left. I've been going to therapy, trying to figure out why I did what I did. I'm not asking you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I'm trying to be better." I took a deep breath, my hands clenched at my sides. "Rachel," I said, my voice calm but firm, "I don't doubt that you're sorry. I don't doubt that you're trying. But I can't keep living in a cycle of forgiveness and betrayal. I can't keep wondering if the next time you say, 'I love you,' it's just another lie." She started to cry, her shoulders shaking. "But I do love you," she sobbed. "I love you more than anything. I made a mistake, a terrible, awful mistake, but I never stopped loving you." I looked at her, my chest tight. "Love isn't supposed to hurt like this," I said. "It's not supposed to make you feel small or worthless. It's not supposed to be something you have to fight for every single day." She stepped closer, her hand reaching for mine. "Please, just one more chance," she whispered. "I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." I pulled my hand away. "I'm sorry," I said, "but I can't." She let out a sob and fell back onto the couch, her face in her hands. I watched her for a moment, my heart breaking all over again, and then I turned and walked to the door. "You should go," I said quietly. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. "This isn't the end," she said. "I know it's not." But it was. I closed the door behind her and leaned against it, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but I knew it was the right thing. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding myself. I started going to the gym, not because I wanted to look better for anyone else, but because I needed to feel strong again. I took long walks in the park, letting the rhythm of my steps soothe my mind. I read books I'd always meant to read, filling my nights with stories that weren't mine. I started to find moments of peace, moments where I didn't think about Rachel or Mark or the way my life had fallen apart. Moments where I felt like maybe, just maybe, I was going to be okay. And in those moments, I realized something important. I had been living for her for too long. I had been bending over backward to make her happy, to prove that I was enough. And in the end, it had left me empty. Now I was learning to live for me, to find joy in the small things, a good cup of coffee, a quiet morning, a walk in the sun, to remember that I was more than the sum of my heartbreak. I started dating again and surprisingly found a woman right away. We began seeing each other quite often, and it started to develop rapidly into something serious. One night, though, sitting alone in my apartment, I realized that Laura, this woman I had been seeing, was actually a rebound. She was kind and gentle, and for a while I let myself believe that she was what I needed. But the truth was, I hadn't healed. I wasn't even close. I was still carrying the weight of what Rachel had done to me, the way she had manipulated me with her tears and her promises, the way she had known exactly what to say to keep me off balance, to keep me doubting myself. When I'd start to pull away, she'd become the perfect wife again, cooking my favorite meals, telling me how much she loved me, promising that she would never hurt me again. And when I fell for it, she'd slip right back into her old patterns, confident that I was too blinded by love to see the truth. Laura deserved better than to be the woman I used to fill the emptiness. She deserved more than half of me, more than the pieces of a man who was still trying to figure out how to stand on his own 2 feet. So I ended things with her, as gently and honestly as I could. I told her that I wasn't ready, that I still had too much to figure out on my own. She said she understood and wished me well as I walked away, knowing that it was the right thing to do. The nights were the hardest. I'd lie in bed, the quiet of the apartment pressing in on me, and I'd think about Rachel, about the way she'd looked at me in the beginning, like I was her whole world, about the way she'd looked at me at the end, like I was just another obstacle standing in the way of what she really wanted. I'd feel the ache of that betrayal deep in my bones, the hurt of knowing that even now a part of me still loved her. Or maybe it was just the memory of who I thought she was, the woman I wanted her to be, even if she never really was. I knew I wasn't healed. I wasn't even halfway there. Some days, the depression was like a fog that wouldn't lift, no matter how hard I tried to shake it off. Some days, I still felt like a man who had lost everything, his home, his future, his sense of who he was. But I also knew that I was strong enough not to go back, that no matter how much it hurt to be alone, it would hurt even more to live in the shadow of her lies, to live every day wondering if the woman I loved was ever really mine at all. I realized that being a man isn't about how much you can take. It's not about how much hurt you can swallow or how many times you can forgive. It's about knowing when to say, enough. It's about standing up for yourself, even when it's the hardest thing in the world. It's about choosing to walk away from the person who would rather see you broken than admit that they never really loved you the way you deserved. And so, I chose myself. I chose to believe that someday I'd find my way back to something like peace. That someday I'd be able to look in the mirror and see a man who was whole again. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know where my life was headed or what the future would look like. But I knew this. I wasn't going to let her define me anymore. I wasn't going to let her betrayal be the end of my story. I was still here, still standing, still breathing. And even if I wasn't healed yet, I know I will be. Someday the nights won't feel so long. Someday the ache in my chest will be nothing more than a memory. Someday I'll be able to trust again, not just someone else, but myself. I don't know when that day will come, but I know that until it does, I will keep putting one foot in front of the other. I will keep showing up for myself, even on the days when it feels like the hurt will never end. Because I owe it to myself, because I am worth that much. And so I sit in the quiet of my small apartment, the weight of everything I've lost and everything I still have left pressing down on me. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and whisper the words I need to hear the most. I'm not there yet, but I will be. And for now, that is enough. Thanks for the submission and sharing the pain and betrayal you have been through. If you would like to submit a story to help other older men, please email me at talkingdivorceafterwife@yahoo.com. Remember, men, to stay strong, support others, and as always, there is a life after wife.